Following being dismissed, Bitcoin is showing a little return and going to our resistance level. The video on deciding Bitcoin's expense is basic as it keeps an eye on the approaching appearance of CPI data, and outlines the crucial trading levels for the following hours. In any case, we ought to recall our video from yesterday before we start. We inspected our tremendous assistance area of around 42,000. As of late, the assistance level for Bitcoin was broken and the worth started to move lower. It outlined a higher low on the Bybit frame more than a 2-hour stretch of time. In this way, why was there a respectable chance of the expense going up, or perhaps a fair chance of it getting to the next level? We should look at our CVD pointer and besides check the diagrams from various exchanges like Coinbase and Bitstamp. In any case, expecting you look at the BIMBY frame, you will see that the CVD marker is showing a lower low while Bitcoin is starting to shape a higher low. The strain from buyers is strong, so the expense didn't go lower, which gives a positive sign for the market. To this end, we are seeing the expense go up by around 4% from the base. Expecting that we look at the Coinbase and Bitstamp diagrams now, there is a respectable open door that the expense will go up because it has gone higher than the past, missing the mark on the two exchanges. On Bitstamp, the expense has gone lower, and on Coinbase, the chart is by all accounts similar, another discouraged spot. This lower low was outlined with a lot of trading activity, especially on the 4-hour frame. There was truly trading activity when the expense went down appeared differently in relation to when it went up following showing up at the past low. People down there got harmed beyond question. The monetary trade went down anyway is as of now going up again in light of the fact that more people are buying stocks. This is making the market show up perceptibly really engaging. That is how I see it. As of now, we can see a 5-wave plan on the Coinbase frame, but a 3-wave plan on the Bybit diagram. In any case, could we look at the diagram for Coinbase? On the 4-hour or maybe the 2-hour graph, we can see a new minimal expense. We can in like manner see an illustration of 5 waves, first up, then down, then, at that point, up, then, down, ultimately down again. It seems like there are 5 waves going down. On the Coinbase diagram, we see one more high at 44,700. Nonetheless, on the more humble chart, we can't say there's a 5-wave cost plan. As of now, there is another decision available. I want to show you that if this count is correct, Bitcoin is legitimate molding a befuddle cure. What does it mean? The sliding improvement we're seeing is just the beginning of our A wave. This second, we are finishing our A wave, and there might be a B wave immediately, which would mean another shortfall of a cure. Also, subsequently, we were pushed down again to wrap up. Our ABC revision most likely won't be right since we can count 3 waves as opposed to 5. This is like the very thing we saw on Bybit considering the way that it had a higher high. We talked about this yesterday. That is the explanation. We similarly need a substitute strategy for counting. Right when we look at it, I like to use the Coinbase frame and examine an ABC cure. So, right when we look at the dropping costs, I accept in light of everything, it was a dynamic decline in 3 stages, rather than a surprising drop. That is the explanation. We could moreover consider denoting this whole modification as a 3-segment cost plan. As of now, we can say our A wave is here as we go with our ABC. Our advancement outside looked like our B wave, and when we drove further, it looked like our C wave. Subsequently, we can say that this was an essential cure. We can in like manner say the very same thing with a 2-fold chart. We have 3 waves, A, B, and C. Since we showed up at a higher zenith and there's plausible showing up at an essentially higher top during a level modification. Exactly when an ABC is done, and Bitcoin is at present after a horrendous excusal, seeing a little recovery back into our assistance district. Notwithstanding, the present Bitcoin cost estimate video will be a huge one since we truly need to examine CPI data release, and moreover the thing are the accompanying key levels that we can be wanting to trade from in the looming hours. Anyway, what we, above all, will see, review the past video. We talked about our gigantic area of help at around 42,000. The assist with evening out yesterday, unfortunately, it was broken towards disadvantage and Bitcoin startlingly started molding some kind of a higher low looking on the 2-hour period of time on the Bybit graph. As of now, why was here a genuinely high probability of a skirt here, or totally a high probability of a recovery or the like? I would concur that we truly need to take into the idea our CVD pointer and moreover the layout from various exchanges like Coinbase, and besides Bitstamp. In particular, right now looking on the BIMBY outline, you will see lower low was outlining on our CVD pointer while Bitcoin suddenly started molding a higher low, or the like. So what's the importance here? Negative strain was coming in the market from a genuine perspective definitively at the low here, but more prominent players were holding the standing pressure, hence the expense didn't make a brand new lower low ingestion. Bullish CVD uniqueness happening the extremely base here, bullish sign, and to that end right now we are seeing this particularly wonderful push towards the possible increase, and if we really measure it from the base here to the area where we are trading at present, fairly more than 4%. Buy and buy. Why? If we go right now with the Coinbase chart and besides with the Bitstamp diagram, we in like manner got a Genuinely high probability of another push towards the possible increase, basically in light of the fact that on both of those exchanges here, we took out our past low. On Bitstamp, a lower low has outlined, and besides, looking on the Coinbase graph, a lot of like thing.an immaculate lower low. Besides, this lower low here was molded on a truly tremendous volume going as of now. For example, on the 4-hour time span, you are regardless going to see there was a higher volume increase versus what we got on this specific push towards some side directly following taking our previous weight, which basically infers people at the low here assuredly got annihilated. Swing dissatisfaction plan, a liquidity grab in a mix with bullish dissimilarity with maintenance happening unequivocally at the base. And to that end, in some action as I would see it, we are right presently seeing this very nice recovery. This uncommonly charming push toward the likely increase. As of now, something crucial that we can right presently perceive will be a 5-wave cost structure on the Coinbase frame anyway, only a 3-wave cost structure on the BYB diagram. Could we go as an issue of some significance with the Coinbase graph here? Assume on the 4-hour or maybe on the 2-hour period of time, since we got an unblemished lower low construction here, we can recognize some kind of a 5-wave cost structure. That being said, first drive here, modification, another inspiration, another cure, and another inspiration towards disadvantage. It seems like we can count 5 waves clearly towards drawback on the Coinbase chart, but on the other hand, we can't examine a 5-wave cost structure here on the youngster graph, because doubtlessly here, we got a brand new higher high at 44,700. As of now, there is also a choice counted. I could moreover need to show you, yet coincidentally, expecting this here is a right count with our 5-wave cost structure, we can say that Bitcoin is most probably molding a mismatch cure. What's the importance here? This push towards the disadvantage was right now the chief drop down with our wave. Exactly when we are right presently seeing our wave finishing, clearly, a B wave is possible, and that infers another shortfall of a modification. Furthermore, subsequently clearly, another push towards downside for us to basically finish our ABC modification, something we recently examined yesterday, but right now, envision a situation where our 5-way structure here is surely not a right count, and we can count 3-wave cost structure relative what we moreover got on Bybit, considering the way that is referred to here. It was a higher high. Likewise, to that end we furthermore need to have an elective count or some likeness thereof. Exactly when that is the very thing that we talk about, I would regardless go with the Coinbase chart and examine an ABC correction. That being said, right when we look at this specific push towards the disservice, I truly accept that most probable we can agree it was positively a 3-wave cost structure rather than an inspiration. To that end, we can similarly stamp this entire modification as a 3-wave cost structure. So going right now with our ABC, we can say our A wave here, our B wave, and moreover with our push towards outside, we can truly say it was our C wave. Thusly, we can say that this here was a level sort of a correction. We can in like manner say a generally equivalent to thing with a twofold framework here. We got a wave, we got a B wave, and moreover we got a C wave here. Why so? Since we got a higher high and moreover a higher high is conceivable in a level kind of a modification. Exactly when an ABC is finished, and I would concur that it looks entirely possible to form on following being dismissed, Bitcoin is showing a little return and going to our resistance level. The video on deciding Bitcoin's expense is basic as it keeps an eye on the approaching appearance of CPI data, and outlines the crucial trading levels for. The conjecture is that it will be 3. The number before this one was 3. Could you anytime, assuming no one minds, change the text you are suggesting? Express because of hence, we will likely see a little extension in the Bitcoin cost. Before we start examining where it's hard for Bitcoin to go up, we ought to talk about where it needs to go up immediately. This is huge because of the CPI data that is coming out soon. I figure we should focus in on the area where costs stayed close by yesterday. We inspected how this district here appears to be like a model formed before Bitcoin started to plunge under an assistance level. This level is indispensable. At this point, I'm checking the 4-hour time span since there was a 4-hour demand block. As of now, could we also use the Fibonacci retracement to measure the whole move in one bearing, and you'll see our objective Fibonacci extent. As of now, I think you are right. It's not unequivocally matching our 4-hour demand block, yet we can see that the objective Fibonacci extent is showing up near our past lows. As of now, when we truly investigate our bottommost limits already and the 4-hour block of solicitations, we can see that we can interact the most important and bottommost limits to make a resistance area. Likewise, here, that is the very thing that you'll find if Bitcoin goes up in the accompanying several hours. It could extend a ton considering the crazy changes in the market in view of CPI data release. To be sure, this will happen now. Our beginning a district in the neighborhood that is hard to make due or safe. I'm not precisely excited about selling Bitcoin right now, but if you got it at a lower esteem, this could be an incredible opportunity to sell some and make an increase. If the expense goes up past a particular point on the blueprint, a more significant level of deterrent is at 44,000.2 or 3 hours earlier. We saw a viable negative cross on the 1-hour diagram when we looked at our moving midpoints. For sure, our 50 and 200 moving midpoints crossed in a diving heading. Genuinely, I don't think this is a very lamentable sign for Bitcoin. Without a doubt, right now the example for the next hour is getting to some degree more delicate, but I really think so. We ought to buy or grasp a stock at huge resistance levels. What's our most paramount area of help where we can expect to buy another stock or grip it? If the continuous Bitcoin cost remains something almost identical until the end of the day, and it's in the green, then, at that point, we will have another ordinary expense. Longer period of time, place where the expense is maintained, precisely at 41,245. If we see the expense go down, it could retest the everyday level. We could in like manner see some impediment at that level. Besides, we moreover envision that, generally speaking, things are at this point looking positive. That is the clarification. The splendid Fibonacci extent and the regular chart can show us a respectable spot to buy Bitcoin at another more noteworthy expense. We can put a stop disaster demand underneath the assistance district, which is under $41,200 as of now. Our Ether stochastic TGO oscillator on the ordinary graph is showing a respectable reset. We went plummeting with a push and made a turn from the uncommonly top on the right side. As of now, we are close to selling more than we have. The very same thing is happening reliably also. We are starting to move plunging considering the way that Bitcoin is continuously going down. I don't accept it's too oversold yet, but we are seeing somewhat reset. We are by seeing somewhat decreasing already. When we were trading high, the expense of Bitcoin went down to some degree anyway, by then progressed forward up. We went down to the oversold area and a short time later Bitcoin went up. Subsequently, I think when this one is being bought unreasonably, or when the expense is going up on the diagram here, it suggests it's probably an extraordinary opportunity to buy Bitcoin. I really feel that, when in doubt, we can be great about Bitcoin. All things considered, we could expect their anytime guess will be 3. 1 and the beyond one was definitively 3. 2, so subsequently, in all likelihood in the looming hours, we can expect possibly higher unusualness in the Bitcoin esteem itself. Besides, before we truly examine an area of hindrance that was not referred to yesterday, what is the accompanying crucial area of resistance? We ought to be familiar with expecting that Bitcoin will see a push towards the likely increase in the impending hours because of the CPI data release here. I would concur that we need to zero in on the past area of hardening. Clearly we examined it, this district here. It appears like it was some kind of an expense action that was formed before another leeway towards disadvantage, before Bitcoin truly started losing our area of help. Likewise, thus I would concur that this level here is a huge one. In like manner right presently looking on the 4-hourly stretch of time, since it was actually a 4-hour demand block. In addition to that, envision a situation where we go with our Fibonacci retracement and we will evaluate the entire move towards some side. You will see that our objective Fibonacci extent. I would agree with you. It's not absolutely agreeing with our 4-hour demand block, but we can see that the objective Fibonacci extent is landing generally at our past lows. When we look at our past lows and besides our 4-hourly solicitation block, clearly, we can connect our past ups and moreover our previous downs to approach a zone of check or some likeness thereof. Moreover, here you're truly going to see that accepting Bitcoin right now in the approaching hours continues with higher, maybe weights towards the likely addition considering insane unconventionality that we can expect in the looming hours because of CPI data release. Clearly, this here will be right now our first neighborhood impediment. As of now, eventually, I'm not precisely fascinated going with a short or a sell position as of now on Bitcoin, but regardless, this here, in case you're maybe in a long or a buy position from the base here, clearly can be maybe a first take benefit locale. Expecting that our splendid pocket and our zone of resistance here, does he break towards the possible increase, a more significant level, then, it will be only our 2 regular high term time from areas of securities at 44,000.by and by a few hours earlier, we got a viable negative cross on the 1-hour time span, looking at our wonderful moving midpoints. So without a doubt, our 50 and moreover our 200 momentous moving ordinary got a negative cross. To be honest, I wouldn't really say that this here will be an extremely bad Bitcoin sign. For sure, we can communicate that on the 1-hour period of time, the example as of right presently is fairly crippling, but I would regardless concur. We can be interested going with a perfect long or a difficult situation position at fundamental key areas of help. As of now, what will be our most significant area of help where conceivably we can be looking for a perfect long or a difficult situation? Expecting that Bitcoin will close our ordinary fire, as it is the current second, that being said green, we will insist a flawless everyday high term period of time, area of help, definitively at 41,245. That is the explanation in case we do see, clearly, a push towards hindrance, a retest of our everyday level, and you will see that expecting there will be a slight excusal at our zone of resistance, as referred to beforehand, clearly, can similarly be splendid Fibonacci extent can be our regular level. What's more, besides we will understand that general talking, we are at this point looking kind of bullish. That is the explanation. Splendid Fibonacci extent and the regular can be a district where we can be looking for a totally new extended, or a buying position on the Bitcoin esteem itself with an incredibly clear stop incident circumstance under our resistance locale, under 41,200.by and buy, when we go with our different pointers, for example, our Ether stochastic TGO oscillator on the everyday time span as of right at present is seeing an incredibly wonderful reset, with a push towards the impediment we twisted from the upper here. In addition, as of the current second, we are coming to essentially the oversold district. Furthermore, a particularly like thing is moreover happening on the step-by-step time span here. We started bowing towards downside right now that Bitcoin is seeing this minuscule push towards inconvenience. By and by I would concur that it's not really at the oversold district right now, yet coincidentally, we are seeing a particularly slight reset,